Before we get going, let's have a quick, let's find out who's here. So if you're working in the UK, hand up. And in continental Europe, North America, Canada, Asia Pac, okay, Russia, China, elsewhere. Okay. And when, is that the fire alarm? Middle East? No. Okay, and you work in research, hand up. Strategy, think about it. Product management, general management, analysts, techies. Okay. Other? Anybody now realize they're in the wrong conference? Okay. Whatever we do, wherever we work, we're all trying to work out how to be competitive. I've been trying to work out how to be competitive for Channel 4 here in the UK. It's a state-owned, commercially funded broadcaster. I've been running video-on-demand services, 4OD, and now all four for the last 10 years. And so what I thought I'd do to try and sort of liven things up this morning is throw together some thoughts, opinions, provocations, ideas, some substantiated, some not really, some you'll agree with, some you'll disagree with, throw them all together in a sort of A to Z. One or two of you have seen something similar to this before, I know. Throw them together in an A to Z. Problem is, along the way, by the way, we'll meet these characters. Look out for them. The problem with an A to Z is if you do an A to Z in this topic, you have to end with Zuckerberg. And the problem with ending with Zuckerberg is it confers on him a sort of ominous overlord-style presence that I don't mean to confer upon him. It's just worth saying on Facebook, I think we're about 5 minutes into a revolution that's going to take 100 years to reveal itself to us. So don't be too hard on this guy. He's accidentally invented something that's changing everything. We'll wait and see. It took 155 years for someone to think of printing a newspaper on the Gutenberg press. So things move more quickly, but this has only been here for like a decade. So give him a chance. YouTube is far easier to understand, I think, than Facebook, especially if you're a broadcaster. Because you've got in a muddle about it over the last 5, 6 years. You thought, what is it? What do we do with YouTube? The answer is it's a marketing platform. It's a means to an end. It's a confusing means to an end because often that marketing takes the form of publishing content, and sometimes we monetize the content. But it doesn't stop the fact that YouTube for a broadcaster is a means to an end. This is a reminder. If a reminder was necessary, these people obviously know what they're doing. And this is a reminder that up till recently, people like me would talk almost exclusively about the web. That's Tim Berners-Lee on the left, Vint Cerf on the right. Techies find that funny? There aren't really that many techies in the room. On the front of Tim Berners-Lee's shirt, it says, I didn't invent the internet. And on the front of Vint Cerf's shirt, it says, I didn't invent the web. Because people get muddled about the two all the time, including myself. Until recently, we'd talk about the web, the browser-based PC laptop web as the predominant means of consuming video on demand. Now we barely mention it. It's flat or declining for most broadcasters. Because why? People move to tablets, phones, and now televisions. Often people get distracted at conferences like this talking about VR. I don't think we will today, but I'll just say something about VR. Don't be distracted by it. It's nothing to do with broadcasting. It's quite relevant if you're a travel agent, an estate agent, an educator. In therapy, it's super important. But it's basically a distraction, unless you're in this business. The reason is the user experience is so singular. The thing that unites TV, we were talking about what is TV earlier on. One of the things that's so special about TV, and also radio, is the fact you can do something else at the same time. That's why VR, UX, is completely about a different state of affairs. Most people with VR machines at home, good ones, only use them now to show them to other people. Isn't it odd how poorly represented user experience or design thinking is in the boardrooms of broadcasters? I think that'll change. T is for timing. Okay, strategists in the room. It's no good being right if you're right at the wrong time. We're just moving from our AVOD model with all four to an all four plus model like everybody else, offering an upgrade to get rid of the advertising. The first paper was called 4OD plus. People who know the market know 4OD was closed in 2015. It's taken 4 years for that right thinking to have the right timing. There's no good being right if you're right at the wrong time. How to be competitive. Time and the schedule is still the most important recommendation engine in all of media. We talk about recommendation engines all the time. This is the most important recommendation in all of media. When a BBC scheduler or an ITV scheduler suggests that we should watch a certain program at 8 o'clock on a Saturday or 9 o'clock on a Sunday, that can turn 10 million heads all at once. Nothing else in media can do that. Nothing else in media. Not only that, it has a huge impact on consumption of video on demand. This graph, there's only one graph, shows all 4 viewing by week. That's the same product, the same brand, the same tech, the same strategy, the same everything. That's what happens when you put a Michael Jackson documentary on the following week. Okay. Whether you're in SVOD or AVOD or credit cards or gym memberships, retention is your key. Retention is your key. AVOD general managers and product managers for too long been neglecting retention, and therefore remain reliant on an inheritance, a constant inheritance from that schedule. We have to be independent of the schedule. Otherwise, as broadcast television declines, so will the video-on-demand services that are aligned to those broadcast networks. You can see at Channel 4, we have a little bit of work to do there. Okay? Okay, we're going to do questions. Questions about questions. How to be competitive. So I'm going to ask you to, if you can, raise your hand, and just raise your hand. It's very simple, there's no tricks. So raise your hand if you know what we call a baby sheep. Clue on the screen. Play along, please. If you know what we call a baby sheep, you all know it. Put your hands up, please. Play along. Do it for me. Thank you. I'm up here. You're in there. It's easy for you. Okay, hands up. You know what a baby sheep's called? It's called, sir? A lamb. A lamb. Ladies and gentlemen, it's called a lamb. A baby sheep is called a lamb. It's very straightforward. Keep your hand up if you know what a baby cow is called. Keep your hand up. What's a baby cow called? Madam, what's a baby cow called? A calf. Okay, a calf. What is a baby dog called, sir? What's a baby dog called? A puppy. This is so easy. You've all got your hands up. Some of you put your hands down because you're too cool for school. I've got my hand up. You put your hand up. We'll do an exotic one. Madam, Roma, what is a baby lion called? A cub, correct. And so what's a baby rabbit called? Hands down if you think it's a bunny. Who's still got a hand up? So, what is a baby rabbit called?
I'm sticking with I don't know.
Anybody?
Leveret.
That's a baby hare. Very good. Who said it? Kitten.
Really?
A kitten. Madam, you are one of the only people in this room of highly educated people who knows what a baby rabbit is called. Questions about questions. There are questions you didn't even think of asking that you don't know the answer to. How to be competitive. Ask what questions you should be asking. Up until recently, we never asked the question of our funnel. You know what a funnel is. People who arrive, people who watch something, people who get through the ads, if you've got ads, people who get to the end, people who watch something else, then they depart your product, right? Until recently, we never asked the question, who are the people who don't watch anything? I mean, how obvious is that as a question? We never thought to ask until this year. Okay, questions about questions. You didn't know what a baby rabbit is called. How odd is that? Product. A lot of us have been dining out on the fact that we've seen growth over the last 10 years. That's because our products have been available in more places with more features than ever before. We could go and say to our bosses, hey, I've got 20%, 30% growth. Why? Because you've got an iOS app this year you didn't have last year. You're on the Samsung Smart TV this year you weren't last year. You've got live TV on your app that you didn't have last year. This is not really growth. This is just occupying space that's already there. Products now are going to become becalmed unless we make the wind blow. We're going to make the wind blow with content and marketing and brand and increasing the product, the quality of the product. But the benefits that we're going to gain from increasing our investments in our products are going to decline significantly from just about right now. Original content on AVOD platforms is economically defunct. I'll put that out there. Whereas partnering with niche verticals can bring new audiences to platforms that wouldn't otherwise have come. This is the Walter Presents that we have here in the UK and niche vertical in World Drama. We've also partnered with Adult Swim from Turner and Vice Media. Niche verticals on platforms can bring audiences that wouldn't otherwise not have come, so you can build not just a destination, but destinations of choice. Much more effective than original content, I'll tell you firsthand. Quick break, halfway. This is the alphabet backwards. M. M's for mastery. Okay, we've been innovating for 10 years. Now we have to get really good at the new things we've learned how to do. The most important amongst which is curation. We'll come back to what that is, why it's so important later on. We need luck all the time. And we need to remember that anytime anybody starts an opinion by telling you something that their children do, especially when they say, my kids never watch TV. We sound the klaxon, ignore them, move on. We have to stay like jazz band, stay like a jazz band. We don't write the music and then play the music. We've got to play like a jazz band. We've got to innovate, take risks, improvise, play together, make mistakes, fall out of time, fall into time, keep going and trying new things in order to continue to innovate. The big challenge for general managers of video-on-demand products today is balancing innovation, which has been the rocket fuel, with mastery. Innovation and mastery. Two cultures within one environment. This is newer for us than it is for most businesses. Now, hippos. Sometimes everybody knows hippos, and sometimes nobody does. So anybody want to tell me what the HIPPO acronym stands for? Is this something everybody knows? There's a gentleman here in the middle. HIPPO stands for? The highest paid person's opinion. It's particularly prevalent in tech, digital, within TV companies, for the highest paid person's opinion to drive the strategy and to drive the roadmap. So we've got to handle our hippos really carefully. Handle the hippos, tell the hippos, yes, your opinion is valued. I'm so grateful to you. We've had your idea already. It's on the roadmap. In fact, it's in the backlog, deep in the backlog. Thank you so much. The most dangerous animal on the planet is a hippo with children. Just don't be him. Just don't be him. Okay, go global. Look, I can't go global. I work for a state-owned, commercially funded broadcaster with a remit and non-profit agenda. I can't go global, but we can all go global if we buddy up with other people in other markets who do what we do. We are incredibly bad at this, incredibly bad. We're fighting global competitors. We're incredibly bad at reaching out and finding other people around the world who do what we do and helping each other out. And so I'll say right now, if you're one of those people, then let's make friends. Okay. What does this F stand for? Anybody? It stands for friends, friends. So familiar. Familiarity is the biggest driver of people's intention to watch something today, which is completely at odds with what we think it is, which is novelty and new stuff and all of Apple's new wonderful shows that will go, oh, what are we going to do? We don't know whether to watch them or not. It's so confusing. All of Netflix's shows that we don't know which one to watch or when to start. Familiarity in relation to curation is a great, big, huge, enormous challenge for those of us trying to incline people to use our platforms and services. Experimentation may not be something that consumers want to do with new content, but it's driving us because we're all collecting data. And I'll get to show you a fun video. Some of you might have seen it. In fact, anybody who's ever seen a presentation by anybody who works for me will have seen this video because they've all pinched it. So here's Kyle at South Park. And what's been happening is the underpant gnomes have been stealing all of the underpants from South Park. Okay, and they've been hoarding them. And Kyle's gone down and asked them a really good question, which is what are they going to do with those underpants? Okay, so let's try it. The next time a broadcaster or I stand in front of you and go, we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 million registered viewers on our platform, you just have to say, yeah, what's phase 2? Okay, curation I'll mention. This is a bookshop in Tokyo, Morioka Shoten. They've taken curation to the logical extent, logical extreme, which is what? They have one book. They stock one book, they say, there's a lot of books out there. This is the one book we think you should buy. Buy it or don't buy it. Come back next week, there'll be another one. Okay. Box sets, just worth mentioning because I've talked about retention. How do we retain audiences? How do we differentiate? What do we do? Particularly relevant for broadcasters who don't always have box sets on their platform. We know BritBox is coming in with a bunch of box sets. Why are box sets important? Here's why. Because I know what you're going to watch next. I know what you're going to watch next in video on demand, and I can do it with a really high degree of accuracy. I know what you're going to watch next is the next episode of the thing you're in the middle of. And you're going to watch the next episode of the thing you're in the middle of, and so are you. The critical junction is, what are you going to do when you get to the end of the thing you're in the middle of? But that happens less often. Okay? Box sets drive retention because you're all going to watch the next episode of the thing you're in the middle of, and we have to get brilliant at addressing that audience during that experience to incline them to use our platform for the next thing they're going to watch, which is why, actually, oddly, those of us with advertising are at a curious advantage, potentially, because we can use those breaks to tell people to continue to use this platform after they finish the thing they're watching now. Now, another video, a short one about brand. So we've had 10 years of technology, 10 years of features, 10 years of functionality, 10 years of latency and bitrate and all that kind of thing. We have to get these platforms to mean something in the world. We've just gone through a logo and a brand update at Channel 4 for all four. And whilst a lot of this is fiction, I wish it weren't, but it is, I'm going to show you how we can start to make brands really kind of mean something and stop being explained by the virtue of the fact they're on this device or they do this thing. So let's just quickly watch this. So you can see we're going for emotional appeal, brand, meaning, the sorts of things that would usually be affiliated with channels and content and programs, not to do with platforms and services, all that stuff, but we're beyond that. Not a mention there of a feature. It's all taken for granted. Okay. What happens to brands when they're aggregated? I don't know. How to be competitive? This is a really, really heavy question, a really big question. If you've invested all that effort in your brand and what it means, and then you have it aggregated by a big platform, a big tech platform, what happens then? I don't know. And we're going to see this huge battle between the sort of economic and strategic compulsion and gravity about aggregation versus the how do you make your brand continue to mean anything in that environment? If you know the answer to this, you're onto a good thing. And finally, how might these niche brands continue to have meaning? Well, I think they need to become what I call super amphibious. What do I mean by that? Well, just as at home in linear, over the top, social, yeah, okay, podcasts, maybe even virtual reality. Able to be themselves in any environment and not define themselves by the medium they originated within. Okay, so there's a bunch of opinions, some substantiated, some not, some you'll agree with, some you'll think, why did he mention that at all? But there we are. I'll just leave you with those three thoughts. 1, what questions haven't you even asked yet? 2, handle your hippos. And 3, try and be super amphibious if you can. Thanks very much this morning.